Welcome back to Mom Interrupted, the podcast where we explore the real, often unfiltered, in-between moments of motherhood. Now, today's conversation is tender, hopefully, and deeply personal because it speaks to the stories we inherit, the ones we carry without realizing, and the ones we are trying to rewrite for our daughters. My guest is someone whose words feel like a gentle, kind, yet steady hand on the heart. Aisah, the mother, writer, and reflective force behind Heartwork Mom, the Instagram handle. She advocates for women's mental health, faith-aligned living, and the invisible labor mothers hold in their bodies, their minds, and their nervous systems. Her reflections on surrender, identity, motherhood, all wrapped up in the lens of faith, have resonated with thousands of women, including myself. And as two mothers of firstborn daughters, today we are diving into a theme that's raw, beautiful, and sometimes confronting: the mother-daughter lineage. The patterns we inherited, the ones we unconsciously repeat, and the ones we are trying with so much sincerity to soften. This episode is a pause to understand where our expectations of daughters come from, why raising girls can feel like holding up a mirror to the places we're still healing, and how we can model a kind, faith-rooted, self-compassionate womanhood for the next generation. So settle in and let's begin. Assalamualaikum. Hi Aisah, how are you?
Uda. Thank you for having me.
You grew up with a mom who lived with mental illness, witnessing cycles of recovery and relapse. How did that shape the way you saw womanhood, responsibility, and emotional expression?
Okay, if I don't be really honest, right?
Yeah.
When I was young, it was really a lot of shame, I would say, because I think at that time, there wasn't really a lot of conversation around mental health. It was just kind of like, oh, there's something wrong with my mom. For me to be able to witness that at a very young age, I mean, in fact, all of my siblings did. There were a lot of confusion because we didn't have those conversations like, when my dad sit down with us and tell, oh, what's happening to mom, where she going and stuff like that. We just needed to kind of adjust. Whenever my mom's not around, and she's usually not around for at least 2 weeks or like a month, and the longest probably like a few months, maybe up to like 2 months, I would say. Those were really bad cases. And then whenever she comes back, you kind of like also have to adjust because she's not really fully 100% who she was. We just kind of like, it was a very unspoken thing. I think it brought out a lot of shame because of not having that understanding, like deeper understanding. In hindsight, now as I get older and understand mental health better, definitely I felt that I think my parents just didn't know or didn't have the right words to tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
And then when I found out like the whole story of it, right, like how it all started, and it was all kind of like pieces from my aunts, from my sisters, from my mom, a bit from my dad sometimes, if he wants to talk about it, because I think the pain was a lot of the burden was really on my dad. So it was very painful and hard for him to talk about it. Even now, if I were to talk about it, he has this emotional response to it. For me, at the time, was really shame. But then now, I think it is really the catalyst for me to do what I'm doing right now, because I felt like, man, like no one is really talking about it deeply. And I think for me, I'm talking about it from experience and also seeing that, it didn't just happen during that time. The effects is up until today.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not something that you kind of like heal when you're in your 30s, 40s. But up until today, she's about 16, 8, I think. And she still has the symptoms. She still has to, we have to still support her along the way. So as a woman, I feel like, of course, when I was growing up, I felt like, okay, I think from all my sisters and I, we all felt like we cannot be like mom. We just have that, like, we cannot be like mom. And not in a bad way, more of like, we need to be more healthy. We really need to hold our boundaries and be aware of ourselves and how to cope, things like that. But at the same time, I think we also push ourselves a little bit too much towards independence, towards, like, oh, I'm okay, I'm strong, and I don't need people's help and things like that. For me personally, it was only when I became a mom and I realized, okay, there needs to be a balance. We cannot be overly independent and also like, just fall apart whenever the little things come into place, right? That experience together with my experience as a mom really shaped me in a way to really see womanhood as a really delicate dance of strength, also softness. Like we need to have both.
Yeah, I imagine because when you're growing up and experiencing all this, and like you said, your parents weren't really equipped with the right language and the right perspective, like how to view this. It seems like there was a lot of guesswork between you and your siblings. Yeah. How do you guys try to
Well, I
wrap your head around that.
For me, I'm the youngest, so I think it was fortunate that I was sort of in a sense taken care of by my sister because they've been through it and they've seen it, right? So whenever like my mom gets sick, it's like auto. My sisters knew what they needed to do, like laundry or like cooking and things like that. They knew what to do, and they sort of protected me from, like,
Shielded you.
yeah, shielded me in a way because they get everything sorted for me because my dad has to go to work, right? So everything is put it on to my sister. So until today, I'm really grateful for what
Yeah,
they've done for me.
your older sisters definitely had to grow up a lot sooner as well because somebody had to do it, right?
Yeah. For us, I think as we get older, then I think we talk about it a little bit more, especially the one that I'm closest with, who's you've met, Annie, right? So we talk a lot about it because we work together. And also we advocate it in a sense because we felt like, when you're running your own business, you really need to take care of your mental health because if you don't, the whole pressures of it, we felt like, oh, okay, we better not be like mom, things like that. So there's that fear as well. But at the same time, we understood that we all need some form of support. If we don't have like a village or even a friendship or social support, I think we know at a time when our parents, how they went through it was really holding on to faith. And that was their strongest anchor. So we understood that and we realized that that's what we need as well as we get older.
But of course, like right now also, there's a lot more information out there, a lot more literature and everything. We can supplement like faith together with all these other practical tips. Obviously, that is a very huge impact to you, right? And you mentioned together alongside experiencing or witnessing your mother go through all of that, being a mom, that has also really changed you. How do you think both experiences made it like who you are right now?
That's, I think, the intricate design of how, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed all of us because it's very bespoke. All our experiences are very bespoke. He knows like what are the experiences that we need to really shape us. Being a mom itself, I really form a deeper sense of compassion towards my mom. I realized that, wow, this is hard.
A lot.
And my mom had 5 kids, That means she had to go through it 5 times. And where I was already broken at the first one, right? Even the first one was so hard, and I cannot imagine like how it was for her having to go through it 5 times and not having the kind of support that I do have. For me, my husband is really supportive. He's really hands-on. I'm not saying my dad wasn't, just that, at that time during the era, very different. They don't talk about this very openly, and they feel like they need to be strong or look strong in front of their children. But I was like breaking down like almost every few days throughout my first few months. Of course, my husband had to see that side of me because he has always seen me as like, this really strong, independent person, and then suddenly I'm all like, who is this person? And is she okay? So I think in general, being a mom really have a deeper compassion for my mom. And also I started to have more mercy towards myself as well. And I realized how I've always been really hard on myself all the time. And I mean, I didn't think that way at the beginning, but I realized, I was really, really hard on myself. I think that narrative was a little bit more out there when I had a daughter because I feel like it's almost like I was venting my frustrations on her. And she's the baby, and that kind of reality is something that Allah, in a sense, beautifully kind of like create for us to see how can you be angry at a baby.
It sounds so ridiculous, right?
It makes sense. So it has to be something inside. So that was when I started doing the hard work. And that's when I'm like, okay, why am I having all these emotions? And then I realized that it's all years of conditioning. So the first year was really hard. But alhamdulillah, it led me here.
I know there's a lot of information out there also about postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety and all of that. But somehow I feel it's more than just that. It's more of like, it's like a point of reckoning everything that you've gone through in your life, everything that you've hidden, you swept under the carpet. Motherhood, here you go. Here's a reminder. You think you've forgotten all of this stuff? No. It's just sitting right there. And then there's like a whole explosion of all of that. So definitely a lot of unpacking to do as a mom. And then you couple with like trying to keep this trying to keep this baby alive. Not knowing, I don't know, how much milk she needs or whatever, and how often you change the diaper, and it was actually it's really quite crazy to balance all of that. And the thing is, like, for me, I feel like I really tried to prepare myself. Like I read like, okay, emotionally, these are all things that could happen. So I knew already, like on a very mental level, on a very theoretical level, this is what postpartum anxiety is, what postpartum depression is. I will feel very angry. I'll feel but then like experiencing it is just a whole other thing. And then I'm thinking back to, I'm imagining what it's like for my mom without all the prep work, without all of that, and they're going through all of this. How our moms had to do it without all this information out there. And it's really just looking at their siblings, what their sisters have been doing, what their neighbors have been doing, what their moms did. And that's kind of the basis of how they raised us, right? Yeah. So
It's kind of like hearsay.
correct. There's not really a lot of fact checking or, research based, all this kind of stuff. Now that you're raising a daughter of your own, how do you see those patterns resurfacing, softening, or transforming in your parenting?
For me, especially for my daughter, because she's wired differently, we are in a review of trying to find out like what is it. But we know for a fact she needs more support in terms of emotional regulation, and also she needs a lot of this thing called heavy work. So like sensory input to get herself calm. Like there's this buzzing feeling that she would say that she doesn't feel safe. She feels like she cannot focus. I'm really glad that she's able to
Tell you,
at the age of 6, she's able to say these things, and even doctors are really shocked when they hear such things.
Like the specifics, right?
She's very specific about what she's going through. I realized that a lot of it was exactly what I wanted. I wanted her to learn about her body. I wanted her to understand how she feels and what kind of help she needs, learn how to support herself, and also seek support from others. That's the basis of my homeschool for the first few years. I think a lot of people do wonder, like, what do I do with her as a homeschooler, right? I always say, to be honest with you, I just teach her how to be a human. Yeah, because I realized that that's something that a lot of us didn't grow up with. We grew up
academics,
to perform, right? To not be. Like no one teaches us how to be just who we are, how we were born, and who we are, exactly how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. I heard a lot of women saying the same thing, where we always feel like we needed to be of a certain persona, right? Because we are girls at
play a certain role, very specific roles.
We are girls, so we need to sit properly, we need to not talk, not to
serve. So
when people come, we are the one who serve, and all these are almost like a template that we're supposed to follow, but actually we are all born different. And we have our unique capacity and also unique capability, right? So that is something that I learned through homeschooling her, because I feel like, I get to see how beautifully she grow when I don't have any pressure on her.
Like no expectations.
No expectations. Like I just teach her, like, okay, this is the thing. Like it's just through talking to her. And through growing up with her. Everything. Just being human. Throughout the first 3 years really shaped me to start to see that, hey, like I am a human too, and I make mistakes. It's okay. And just like recently today, as we were about to come here, right? I saw the bus, and my house is really near to the bus stop, right? And as I was running with them, right? But there is a tendency with bus drivers these days, they will see like people like me. I am a mother with kids running towards the bus. They have zero compassion.
They don't care.
They will just turn and drive. And then we're like, okay. So at that point, I was like, okay, sabar. Deep breath. And my daughter was like, it's okay, mama. Those moments, whenever I capture those, I realized that
this is the work.
This is the work. This is the work that it's not that she's going to be just compassionate towards others, but because she's compassionate to herself.
It always starts with like how they speak to themselves, and that's how they're going to treat others as well. You're spot on. I noticed not having my kids in school, it's just about spending all that time with them, and any little thing that they see, they witness, whether it's the garbage truck and the uncle, like, putting all the thing, why did he press that button? Oh, press that button means this one go up, or whatever, or construction worker, just going through life, right? And all the questions and why. And it's through that they slowly start to unpack everything. And it's like a real lived experience. They see it with their own eyes. They hear the sounds, and this is how they're learning the world. On top of course, supplementing it with lots of books and stories and everything. So there's just space really to live and to be, like you said. And I think that's very special in this day and age. And there's a majority of moms in Singapore at least will be like full-time working moms. So yeah, definitely a nice privilege. Definitely crazy sometimes. But then you're like, okay. Yeah. Like this
It's such a
is it.
privilege to be here right now.
Yeah, but also, yeah, for sure. Goals, at least for me, I felt like sometimes I'm like, hey, it's actually easy to be kind to my daughter. So sometimes you're thinking, if it's so easy to be gentle and kind to my daughter, why can't I do the same for myself? Like, why do I harbor these crazy standards for myself when I am more merciful or forgiving to my daughter?
That's the beauty of it. It's like the moment we become mothers, right? There's a hadith about all this. Mothers are meant to have mercy. It's just embedded in us to have mercy. And hence, if you can see a mother being so merciful to the child, then our Lord is more merciful than a mother.
Then that's, yeah.
And it's also a way for us to see that if we are able to be merciful towards our child, then that means it's almost like we are wired to be merciful towards everyone, not just our child, but everyone, including ourselves. And understanding that mercy, like what I realized is that it's very hard for us if, let's say, for many, many years you've been like criticizing yourself. It's very hard for you to say, hey, it's okay. If
It doesn't just undo like that.
Yeah. And it's very awkward. It's very weird. I've done a lot of reflection circles with a lot of mothers, right? And they feel that way. To them, it's like, it's weird for me to be kind to myself.
Yeah.
What I always tell them is that, yes, of course, it's going to be weird. I mean, it was weird for me and so.
Yeah.
But then the more you do it, the easier it gets. Yeah. And also, it's very, very important for us to relate back to like the most merciful, right? Because because we always feel like, our mercy or our patience kind of like has a limit. Yeah. We think that but then when we realize that, hey, because we are servants of the most merciful, that means it's limitless.
Yeah, it's endless.
Yeah, it's endless. The source is there, it's always there. Yeah, it's just like, scrolling bottom. Yeah, that's how that's how it is. Like what you said about how it's very hard for us, mainly because it takes practice. I'm doing many years of self-criticizing, pressurizing instead of being compassionate to ourselves. And that many years of conditioning, you cannot undo it in a year or two. Yeah. So until today, I'm still
conscious effort. Yeah.
I'm still doing it. Yeah. And that's why I say keep doing the hard work, because it's a daily thing. It's not like, today I don't need to.
There's no like end point. It's just you keep getting better and better. Yeah. On top of like, however other ways that you try to work on healing yourself, like going for therapy or whatnot, seeing our kids being proud of how they are growing up and how they are being as a person, I think that's also healing. You're like, yes, oh my God, she has a strong voice. She can say no. She can stand up for herself. Like, she's kind. Like witnessing all of that is definitely healing some parts.
Yeah, because the body remembers. We tend to think that, whatever we experience in the past is just our memory, but actually our body remembers moments when our voice was not heard, when we felt unseen, when we felt like rejected. Our body remembers. So that's why our nervous
times are the same.
And our that's why our nervous system, in a sense, will trigger the same the moment when something feels that way. Right? Like, our child not eating what we cook, and that one, rejection. And then suddenly we're so mad about it.
How dare you? Like, I put in all this effort and then you just
People talk about healing is really kind of like telling your nervous system and telling yourself, like, hey, like it doesn't mean the same for everything.
It's not fight or flight. Like, her rejecting this does not mean she's rejecting my love. And she's just not in the mood for fries or rice. So when it comes to emotional literacy, this was probably the one thing that stuck out to me quite a lot when I was looking at books for my kids, like my daughter when she was really young. I realized, wow, the type of books that's available right now, how they share about emotions and all of that. I'm like, why didn't we get that? Like, it's not rocket science. It's not like, formulas or whatever. Like, this is just naming how you feel and the physiological effects, like how anger feels, how sadness feels. And these kids at like toddlerhood, they really have those simple like Asmon books. And I just thought it was like incredible. And can you imagine like a whole generation of kids who know how to name their feelings, who know how to regulate themselves emotionally. I mean, I'm like, mid-30s and still really struggling to pause, because they say it's like, before you think of doing all the really high level, I'm very calm and patient, that sometimes it's just the pause. Yeah. So just the pause alone, some days I really like struggle to just pause and just don't react. And I feel like my whole face is reacting even if I'm not actually like raising my voice or whatever.
Grinding your teeth.
Or like like clenching your hand somewhere or something. I'm also curious, like, how do you think, for you raising your daughter, because your first one is your daughter and then you have a son as well, how do you think that has changed, like having a son?
Yeah, I think a lot of people tend to ask me that because they're curious as to like, how does a son
differ?
Right? Exactly, which is normal, right? I think even our parents were, anak lelaki lah, things like that. For me personally, like, we were created, of course, different, right? Because we were created for different responsibilities and different, I guess, positions. So, for example, I feel like, but at the same time, I can't really say much because these are my kids. We spoke, right? What stands out for me is how my son is a little bit more steady. He has his emotional moments and stuff. But like, sometimes I see, you are 2 years old, but you sound so mature. Like last night, there was drilling. I mean, my neighbor was doing some drilling, so it was really loud and it was about their bedtime. So, of course, my daughter, being how she is, she was like, like, what is this sound and things like that. And my son was like, don't worry, no sound.
Wow.
Yeah. Why? So exactly, my daughter would be like, you're not scared? No.
Wow.
Yeah, things like that. So he has a little bit more steadiness in him. I don't know about you for your husband, but my husband is my rock.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so there's something about men, right, that's been created that they're not as emotional as so, which is all written as well, right? Like, we are meant to be like that emotional, more nurturing side. So definitely I see that even at a young age of 2. Yeah, his design is beautiful. Inshallah, like, he's gonna be like the anchor for my daughter, who's emotionally volatile all the time, and he is the one like, come on, like, things like this. Let's say when she gets a bit stuck in her fight and flight mode and she doesn't want to get out of the house, for example, right? And then he'll be the one who goes to her, kakak, and going like, in a moment I was like, Allah,
thank God for my son.
I mean, we specifically named him Yasir at the time because Yasir means ease. And it's, let's say, that's another thing, right? Like, naming your child is also
the traits that you want.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, like, I think he really showed me that, motherhood can be easy sometimes. Alhamdulillah for that.
Yeah, there's this new thing with my kids. Like, my daughter's very volatile as well. So, she can be really, really volatile. This morning, she screamed down the whole house because she didn't want to wash her hair. And like, my husband was in a meeting, he came out and like, what's going on? Like, came out from his studio and my mom was like, what's happening? I'm like, she doesn't want to wash her hair. She needs to, because it's like gross. It's been a while already. And then all my son did was raise his hand. He just did that. And it's like, ha. And then they hug. And then she just like, goes all the way down. And I'm like, wow, why did you make it look so easy? Like, here, trying not to go crazy from the screams. And you were just like, that's it. Like, it's incredible. I also feel when there's like a sister and a brother, they kind of balance themselves out too. I have a younger brother, so I do see that like dynamics in my kids as well. I'm like, this is good. This is good. One thing I noticed about my son is that I feel like he's really boy. Like, brute force is a thing.
They call it the masculine energy. So like, they really need to let it out. Yeah. That's also another thing. I mean, we are talking about daughters, but it's sidetrack to sons. Is that for those people who tend to suppress those masculine energy, right? That's when it becomes a problem for them as well. Because they need to express and let it out. And it's not a bad thing. It's part of their development. So I think like you said, like, there's so many books out there. Yeah. Like, you have the internet. Like, please do educate our child when you want to be parents. It really eases the mind because when you overthink, right? Or you listen to all this kind of like hearsay advice and things like that. Reading factual things from people who've really done the work. And for many, many years, they're working with families. They're seeing like different types of families, not just your family, your relatives.
Very different lens.
Yeah.
Yeah, very different.
It's the best way to really educate ourselves.
And like, why not? It's right there. What is freely available is right there. Just supplement it. I find that for me, it was a bit like reading too much and not leaning on my gut instincts enough. So that was my struggle. I was like, no, but the book said, like, it was more of that, and trying to balance it and recalibrate by leaning into my own instincts.
I think for me, the best way is to really also go back to the religion. When you seek knowledge, you start to realize that at the end of the day, whatever we're doing is for Him, right? It is a form of worship. It's not like, oh, because you're my child, you must do the way I am, things like that.
Yeah.
It's all for Him. At the moment when we really understand that it all circles back to Him, then we are able to kind of also let loose moments when we don't know and we're okay with it.
Yeah,
like,
let go.
Yeah, let go. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know why she did that, but it's okay. And that's just comforting because okay, it's fine. He will take.
I don't need to know the answers.
It's fine.
I think for me, that's what I also realized after having 2 kids. I just sparkle a lot more because I'm like, what is there to do? I can't do anything else already. Like, I'm trying and it's still like this, and like, okay, we'll just see what happens in the next 2 hours. Will we survive? Will someone like collapse? We don't know. We don't know. So yeah, it's very freeing. Yeah, to be able to just let go and just,
I mean, He is fair, right?
Yeah.
We understand that whatever hardship that we go through is balanced out within all the kids. In a sense. Like my mom, right? She has 5 kids, right?
Yeah.
She always say that I'm the easy one, which is Alhamdulillah. So it's like, there will always be the easy one, the struggling one, things like that. So that's just how it works.
Yeah.
And once we understand that it's all part of a test, it's not about determining whether we are a good mom or a bad mom and things like that. It's really just a test to see our level of patience, our level of tawakkul, our level of really taqwa. Like,
at least in Northern World in Singapore, sometimes maybe when we grow up with like academics first and whatnot, we tend to feel like our success is ours. And I think therefore our failures is ours. You know what I mean? There's that, you're equally hard both ways. Yeah. So when we realize that it's really not about us, it's an amanah, right? Children is an amanah. So when we just focus on like you said, going back to religion, why we're here, what's the point of all this, it just eases our shoulders also. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the whole, like, I remember Dr. Narayan was saying to me, like, how being a mom, like, you cannot do it on your own.
Yeah.
You need Allah.
Yeah.
And that realization itself is something that is the reason why I'm doing my work, because I feel like every mom, like, stop trying to do it all on your own.
Yeah.
Because there are moments where you have to just really let go, and let be. Because you are not in full control of everything. And that itself is supposed to be comforting. But I know for a lot of people who are very, like you said, like very independent, very like, oh, this success is mine, this failure is also mine. When they are very stuck in that, I would say it's actually a scarcity mindset. You know, you're really stuck in that mindset where you think that you are the one who is the denominator for everything, right? When you're stuck in that, you don't grow. And you want to be to be a mom, you need to grow alongside your kids. Not just your kids growing, right? We have to grow as well. And as they get older, the challenge is going to be different, right? Now we are going through the whole toddler, not like easy, I would say like early years, right? In a way, it's easy.
In a way, you don't have to have like the really difficult conversation. It's different.
Let's not get
no.
But then and then once they go to school, it's going to be different types of, they have to navigate friendships, things like that, or external influences. Then we have to be ready for such conversations, right? And then when they become teens, we also have to be ready for that.
No, I don't know. I imagine that.
It's another. So if we're not growing, then we cannot support our kids, and we are here to support them.
And ultimately, let's just take like the average lifespan. We'll know our kids the longest when they're adults. There comes a point where like you can't fool like adults, like you can't fool your kids. Like, I'm sure there's a point in every one of us where we realize that, oh wow, our parents are not this, like, oh, we see through it all. So there comes a point where if we don't do the work with them when they're young and they want to spend time with us, it's just going to be like a really hard struggle to get them back when they're a lot older. And when they can see through it all, like they'll be like, oh yeah, but like mama didn't really do the work, or like my mother was not capable of doing this. Not that I'm saying what they'll do is compare, but more of they can see how their friends and their friends' relationship with their parents, and they'll draw a bit of comparison from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's true. Like a lot of times people think that, for us to have this bond, maybe when they're older, we can have all these kind of conversations with them, but we're not going to have that connection or that bond if we're not doing it right
from the start. Yeah, like it's not a magic bullet, right? It's some secret recipe that you can do it, and like you have such amazing relationships with your kids when they're adults. Like, I think the goal is like we also want, not the end goal, but one of the goals we want is to have like a beautiful relationship with our children when they have the ability to choose. Like when they're like, I want to be close to my parents. You want them to choose you when they have the option to choose anything else. Yeah, I think that is a bit, for me, sometimes it's a bit hard to consider that, because you're thinking of the now, and you're thinking of the now where you are directing a lot of the things that your kids are doing, and you are like still the one in control, versus when they're big and you literally have no control. Yeah.
So for daughters, I would say, I think for us, we know that the kind of things that they're going to go through, right? Navigating with men, and then navigating friendships, jealousy, all this kind of thing, because we've been through it. So we know the kind of like emotions and really hard experiences that they can go through. So in a sense that we feel like we want to prepare them for that, right? And people try to orchestrate the whole thing, like, making sure that they are with high self-esteem. But actually, the most important part is just to have a good connection with us as a mom. And also feel like she feels seen, she feels loved, she feels worthy, and she feels like she belongs somewhere. And just that itself is enough to like build her self-esteem. So I think that's the main work that we have to do, and to really go down with the shame and increase the presence and being there and listening to her and understanding that whatever that she's going to go through in the future, inshallah, the foundation is here. Yeah, we are not in control of later on, but right now we can.
Yeah, and I think sometimes maybe it's just the Singapore context where there's a lot of outsourcing involved. Some things is just obviously better dealt with by the mom, by the parents, as opposed to someone else who's doing it out of duty, out of, their job, their profession.
Yes. Yeah. Of course, it's going to be really tough. I mean, for parents, our moms who have to feel like they need to go to work. If they feel, and we respect that, right? But this is something that can be comforting, to know that every moment that you have with your child is enough.
It's impactful.
Yeah. So if we just make sure that we are present, we're talking to them, we're even showering, things like showering their kids is like a very intimate experience, right? And it's in those moments that they let loose, and they will tell you things that you didn't expect them to tell you. And especially before bedtime.
Oh my God.
And there's so many things to tell us, right?
Incredible, before bedtime. Yeah, I'm there just like...
This way, time off.
It can go on and on. Yeah.
So it's in those moments when we're present, it's enough actually.
What I realized, maybe back then moms don't really express joy so much. I'm like trying to think, do I really remember like my mom being very joyful when I was young? Perhaps not. She was there, she was present, but it felt more like she feels like she has a whole laundry list of things to do, like one to the other, as opposed to just being joyful with me. So that's something I try to consciously do with my kid as well, with my kids, and like playing with them. It's not the language of our parents before. True.
So my mom-in-law would say, like, she really don't know how our generation are mothering, in a sense, because we play with our kids and she don't remember like doing that. She always tell me she's always cooking and baking, and then my husband will be in the room. Exactly. And I think in a sense we are breaking a cycle here. We're breaking a cycle because we start to realize that our relationship with our children, especially our daughters, shows them what's important. So if we feel like always working, always baking, always whatever, right?
They will draw importance.
That's important. Like that means financial security is more important than being with me. Because that's just how children's brain work. Right? And it's not wrong either, right?
It's just what they see, right?
So they see that, so the moment when we actually pause and those experiences where they realize, hey, my mom actually put down the laptop and actually sit down to play with me.
Yeah.
Then they're learning that, oh, I am important. That I do matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that is very important for, I think, especially in the day and age that they're growing up in, with social media, with all this. Yeah, let's not go there. But yeah, so they have to have a very strong sense of self. And I think that's what we are really doing right now.
Yeah, like we want them to be able to know and instinctively feel when something is good, is bad. Go away from it. Tell somebody, seek help. Like we can't control what people do outside, but we can only hope that we've given them the skills and the tools to, approach all these strange scenarios. In the best possible way. Yeah. So it's not to shield them from the danger, is to teach them what to do when the danger is there. Yeah. Which is, it's a lot. I can't imagine what else is going to happen in the next decade or two. Yeah. In light of all the nonsense that's already been released and all of that.
Yeah.
In the next decade, in the next 2 decades, they just need to be even stronger and more rooted and be able to hold their ground and not be swayed. Yeah. And the thing about being swayed is that I feel when you're young, at least for me in my experience, peer pressure is huge. How do we get our kids to understand that their decisions, what they think and feel, matters a lot more than just what other people are doing around them. Yeah, so that's something sometimes I think about, because I personally felt that peer pressure was a very big deal growing up. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, for my daughter, like recently we had this conversation where because she's in a very long MC right now because of an infection that she had, and she meets her friend, her girlfriend, and she calls him, and then she would talk about like one of them, and then she talk about the other one. I asked her, what makes a good friend? And then she said, they're kind, they help me when I need help. And then when they are sad, I will go to them. And then when I'm sad, they go to me. And they like to play with me, and they make me laugh. And they make me feel safe. Things like that. And she's able to say those things.
Yeah.
And I feel like in that moment, I was like, okay, well, like I've done...
You're doing something right.
I've done something right.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. But I think when we think too much about like, how are they going to kind of sustain themselves in 10 or 20 years, right? It is very worrying. There's a lot of rising of anxiety when we just think about that. And I think, again, it goes back to also understanding that the religion itself, to anchor them there. And for her, it really was very important for me to anchor her to that, because when I'm not around, she knows that there's Allah with her. And that itself is comforting for her. And she knows all the du'as and the surahs, or like the zikr that she can do to calm herself down. Because she is wired to be volatile and really swayed by the environment, right? So whenever it gets a little bit too loud, she does get riled up. I feel like just that itself is comforting, like knowing that she has those tools. That is to Allah, right? I cannot be there for her all
the time. Yeah.
So that itself is why I do this work, which is to tell mothers that, want to decrease your anxiety. Then get closer and get them anchored.
Young you is seeing, young you that's like old enough to think and assess stuff, not like a primary schooler. So let's say maybe the you in your 20s were to see how you are now mothering your 2 children. How do you think she'd feel?
She would be shocked. I think for me, when I was in my 20s, I was really chasing the pursuit, creative pursuit. I ran a business, so I was really kind of like pushing myself to make a name for myself. And I think the beauty that he created for me, my experience as a mother, is really to humble me and to see that, hey, you're not that good. Okay? Like, it was something that I had to feel, because even my husband would say, like, he says it as like, I don't know, maybe he's biased, but he said like, I have this, they call it Midas touch or something.
Oh, Midas,
Midas touch. And then he said like, whatever projects that I tend to put in my work, it somehow will work out. During my 20s, I would say I was pretty arrogant to think that, I have the creativity, I have the ideas, and she'll be shocked to know that the mid-30s me thinks that I'm not that good.
Yeah.
And that to kind of like be more humble, to realize that all these ideas are not from me, and that I am just a vessel, that I'm just here to perform and do the work. But everything, the source is him, it's not me. I think she would also be embarrassed to know that that she is going to be this person who is really highly connected and also in a sense doing dakwah. Because when I was in my 20s, I knew for a fact that I didn't want to be like my parents. I was that arrogant in a sense to think that I'm not like my parents. You know, my parents are, they're into the Quran, they're into all this kind of stuff, and I'm into this,
You're different.
I'm different. I'm this creative person. Man, like I really needed my grounding. So I guess that's why Allah made it so hard for me. First year of motherhood to really like knock my ego out, knock me back to my senses. So I that.
In many ways, most women also feel that when it comes to motherhood, in the enter motherhood, things get very messy and foggy for very long. But in that mess, somehow there's a lot of clarity that you gain from it too. Like suddenly your priorities are very clear. If you are someone who doesn't like confrontation, if someone does something to your kid, you have no issues like, standing up and being like, hey. So I think through the hardships and whatever foggy state of mind that we are in when we first enter, at least first time motherhood, the clarity that comes out of that is also equally special. Yeah, because then, things are just realigned and you just feel like your priorities are clearer, I feel.
And whenever like moms come to me and tell me that they're really struggling throughout this time and they don't know what's going on, they try this thing, doesn't work out, they do this, they cannot work out, and they feel so stressed and overwhelmed. I always tell them that, this is part of the process. Like you cannot get away from the process. And for us, I think the easiest way to see is that whenever we go around, right, there's always a construction happening, right? With Singapore, it's always building, right? So you start to see that like without that construction work, we won't see all these beautiful buildings and houses, right? And how beautiful Gardens by the Bay is. And I'm just saying that because my daughter lives to go. So
it's a nice place. Gardens by the Bay is
right. So we have to go through that construction process, that work in progress process, and be okay with it. And that itself is a period of time for us to practice patience, and that itself is worship, right? For us to just be okay with the messiness of things.
With that moment of like total lack of clarity, the opposite end.
So that's why I felt like that kind of like shattered that state of competency in myself. And realized that this messiness is what I need to get there.
And sometimes it's like a whole process of like rebuilding your entire identity, rebuilding yourself, because the skill sets or the traits or whatever it takes to be a mom is so different from non-mom or whatever we were succeeding in before. It just needs to be, like you said, like broken down, rehacked, and then like, slowly brick by brick, you build yourself up again. Sometimes on the other hand, if some people wish to quote unquote like skip the hard parts, outsource a lot of like help or a lot of this hard work, H-A-R-D and H-E-A-R-T, outsource that so that the entire transition into motherhood is easier. That's where I feel sometimes it misses the mark also, because then you're not, the mess that rebuilding is a key part of being a mom.
And it's proven, it's proven, and I've seen it for myself, like relationships where they are really hands-off, they prefer career over this kind of like hands-on work, and the kids grow up not having that connection or that bond that they hope to have. I think it's not wrong, highly, if you think that it's better for your mental health to outsource whatever help that you need, then it's good for you. But at the same time, you have to also be clear as to if, let's say, I really outsource everything and I just focus on certain things, then you're only gonna be okay with
reaping those certain benefits.
You're not putting the seeds for the rest. And it's something that you have to be okay with, especially as they get older. It's gonna be clearer as they get older, right? And one of the things that I start to notice for those kind of relationships, where the moms are pretty much like hands off and things like that, they will have that sense. It's almost like you'll be in denial if you say that I don't regret. Yeah, it will be a state of denial.
Yeah.
Because you will feel that regret because we were created to be nurturing. We were created this way. We were created to have these abilities. It's almost like you have you have creativity, but you don't use it. Like I like to draw, but I don't want to draw. And then it just dies with you eventually.
Whatever your focus is would be where you pour your effort into, your heart, your soul. And only through that effort, that brick by brick where you pour in the work, that you'll see, the growth of what you hope to achieve and what you hope to see in the future, right? Yeah. Sometimes it's hard though, like it's hard to be certain on your own path, especially if you're doing things that are a little bit different from other people. It's a bit hard to be more steady on the path.
Yeah, but we have to recognize that we're not in competition with anyone. And I think once we realize that it's just between us and ourselves, then what we want and what we want for our children, especially for our daughters, because we have that direct influence for our daughters, right? For our sons, they need a little bit more on the father's side as well. But for our daughters, it's like we are literally giving them the first model of a woman, right? And that is huge. So the moment when they grow up, they start to see the other types of women that they see and things like that. They'll start having that comparison towards you as well. So they will naturally feel that, whether I like that model, my mom, or I prefer someone else and things like that. So that's up to them. But I think it's our duty to give that best representation of
what a woman is. Yeah. It's also interesting, like how I don't know about you, but when I see how my husband is with my daughter, back to our earlier part of the conversation, like when you see certain things and it does feel like it heals certain part of you. Seeing how my husband is with my daughter is also pretty healing to me, because I'm like, I didn't really have that with my dad when I was young. So I thought that was I remember that leaving quite an impact on me. Maybe the first few instances I witnessed it, and when she could respond back, like not just as an infant, I'm like, this is what a father-daughter relationship could be like.
Yeah. I mean, it was for me as well. For me personally, like I was pretty close to my dad, like close in terms of proximity. Like I'm always kind of like be with him when he goes to the malls and things like that, and he does bring us out, etc. And he carries me a lot because I didn't like to walk. And you see that in my daughter. But seeing my daughter having that relationship with my husband definitely healed a certain part of me, because you, in a sense, like you thought that would not be possible because we didn't grow up with that. Whenever we don't grow up with something, we don't think it's possible. Until we see it for ourselves, and then we're like, whoa, okay,
it's possible.
And for me, I feel that, alhamdulillah, like I think what we're doing, I mean, especially with our husband and our daughters, is that we are showing her a good like how she's supposed to be treated as a woman later on by a man. And that is very important.
Very important.
It's that foundation.
Apparently it's the relationship a daughter has with the dad is like a precursor, and it determines so many things about their future relationships, not just romantically, but also otherwise, like with men at the workplace, with strangers in the public transport, and so on and so forth. When you imagine the mother you want to be remembered as by your children, what qualities or memories matter most to you?
Myself as a model, I would say the one that I would want my kids to remember is how I'm always there for them in the hardest moments, like just being that support in those hard moments, because I feel like that itself is actually the most important aspect for me to embed in them. As they get older, they will face moments when really, really hard moments and really dull moments as well, and the moments when they feel like things are not going their way. And I think those sort of like negative moments will be more jarring and more apparent, because we just have a negative bias, right? We have this bias.
We remember like the bad
things. So I want them to be able to see that those moments, there will be someone who will support you, and that you're not alone in those moments. And that it's a quality that I want them to remember, because that will direct them deeply towards the spiritual side, which is to understand that Allah is always with them. That's why I always advocate for this, because I feel that what we're doing as mothers is literally about is creating the foundations on the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah, and I think that also made me think of when my kids do, or when my daughter specifically, when she does something wrong, and it's not to make her feel embarrassed or shame, is to get her to understand, okay, this is the wrong thing. What do we do from here? Like how do we correct this, and what can we learn from this? So again, it's like the bad thing, which is what she did something wrong. It's not just to deep dive in this total spiral into a total sense of shame, but rather what next? How can she grow from this? Similarly, when you said like in future when they're going through hard things, you want them to have the growth mindset. You want them to feel like this is not doomsday, this is not the end of it. You are there as their mother, but they also have it in them to grow from this negative experience. Yeah. Because I think I guess for me also like when I was younger and failures hit really hard, it's because there's that sort of like lack of resilience and lack of ability to feel like you can come out of it and you can come out of it strong, you can come out of it better. Yeah. So when you understand that concept, when something happens to you, you feel like, I got this. Like I can do it. My mom's right there for me. I know that there's no such thing as life without hardships and all of that. It harkens back to how we should just like the growth mindset lah.
Yeah, because it's very important for us as mothers, right? To whatever mistake they make, even if it's spilling the water or literally pushing the sibling, the fact that we know. Yeah, but in deep down, I think the work that we have to do is to really focus on the action itself and not them as a person. Yeah. So I think for a lot of us, we grew up in a way that we think that all these things got to do with us, like there's something wrong with us, and that's why we have so much shame. But that worked out, I guess, for in some ways. But then we have to undo it a lot when we get older. So we are trying to kind of like help them to not having to do those work. Yeah. Right. And inshallah, they're able to have a growth mindset because it starts to see whatever that's going wrong is the action, is the situation, is the event. Like failure is an event. It's not it's an identity. Yeah, it's an identity. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think we covered we've covered a lot of things. Okay, maybe let's go on to the final question. What's something you're currently unlearning and something you are growing into?
Well, I'm still unlearning the part of being okay with my mistakes. I'm a reformed perfectionist. I think if you're creative yourself, you feel like you have some level of perfectionism to kind of perfect your craft, right? So for me, because of the work that I do, it was really hands-on kind of work, and at the same time, like, I liaise with a lot of people. So I always feel like whatever projects we have is really based on my interaction with them, and I cannot go wrong, right? And that's why as a mom, I feel like it really humbles me and really undo that part of me to not see perfectionism as a sign of excellence. Perfectionism, in fact, is actually the work of the ego because you want to do it so that you look good. Yeah. But then excellence is about growing and not just about you. It's about everyone. So the family, the child, and then also your spiritual growth. And so I think I'm still doing that. A lot of people always say, oh, no, like, you're so calm and your work is big, things like that, things like that. But like behind the scenes, there are moments when I have to like unravel. And moments when my emotions, my kids know me the most. You want to know me the most, you ask the kids. But the beauty is that because like I think we talk about it before about how like our kids, especially our daughters, will also co-regulate with us. Like when we are dysregulated, they were the ones like, okay, mama. Yeah, so like my daughter does that. She did it also recently. I totally thought that her medical appointment was on Tuesday, so we got everyone ready. And I got down and I just wanted, I don't know, I think it was Mercy or Kim to like make me want to double check. And then I checked, I'm like, the appointment is tomorrow. And in that moment, like, those thoughts came in, like, oh, how could you get this wrong? Like, you're rushing everyone and things like that. And then, but in that split second, I hear my daughter, it's okay, mama, let's go to the playground. That itself was enough to like really heal that side of me, and my body just felt easier. I could just let go. Yeah, so that's definitely something that I still work on a daily basis. And I don't think I will ever be totally you know,
Yeah, understand. Yeah.
okay with it, and I think it will still come out once in a while. Just like I said, like I've seen my mom as well. Like even though she has gone through a lot of rounds of healing, right? Psychologically and also spiritually, she does still have her triggers and things like that. And we, as her daughter, has to be like aware of it.
Yeah. Okay, so I know I said that was the final question, but I have like one more question. The work that you're doing with Heartwork Mom is amazing. It's incredible. What do you hope to achieve with Heartwork Mom? Yeah.
Well, when I first started, I had no hopes. It was really just kind of like just sharing my reflections and really just sharing, having an outlet for my writing, because that gives me the accountability to just write. Because when I just write to myself, I don't.
Yeah, you won't like hone it. Yeah, in a way also.
Knowing how it was for my previous work, right? That I need to have some form of public accountability with just sharing my reflections, my writing. It's just a way for me to be accountable for what I was doing. Having that public exposure really will force a part of me to like just get better and just keep on sharing and keep on writing. It was only until moms start writing into me and say like, you're putting my feelings into words. And in that moment I felt like, hey, that's what writers do, right? And then that's when I felt like, okay, I guess I'm a writer now. You know, I don't like officially, proclaim myself as a writer, but I hone that, I guess, that work. And I tell myself on a daily basis, I'm a writer, so I have to write. And then, of course, as a writer, you want to have a book. But then I know myself that book is actually, any writer who writes a book is trying to change a culture. Right. Trying to educate, there's a certain level of work that you're trying to do with a book, because that's why you want to mass produce your idea, right? But I tell myself that my work doesn't need that mass produced work. I can just start with one person at a time. If I'm able to change just one person and help that person, I think my work is done. I mean, for the day, and then I continue doing it. I see it in a very small scale manner, and that's why from there, that's how we started the reflection circles. And I love having these physical and also virtual sessions, and that's how we met. What I see for the future is definitely like, I hope, and I do hope it happens. Is to really have a well-being education platform. So as mothers, we enter motherhood equipped with the knowledge that we need, both spiritually and also like physiology and all this kind of stuff. So that's definitely in the pipeline, and I hope that can be something that I get enough energy and sleep to do. That is what I feel we as moms need, even if we are like 20 or 30 years into it. We've met mothers, been there, their kids are in their 20s, and they still need this work, right? So it's definitely something that's required, and I can hope that I can make it work.
Yeah, inshallah. Okay, I think it's a nice way to end the podcast. Thank you so much, Aisah, for coming today, making all the journey here. Yeah.